Dear student, maintenance management, block 1, unit 3, maintenance planning and scheduling. I, Manoj Kumar Rout, Assistant Professor, Operation Management, going to discuss on the topic maintenance planning and scheduling. So let's understand what are the different objective of this particular sessions and what are the different outcomes of this particular session. So the objective is understand the objective and benefits of maintenance planning and scheduling, forecast and analyze the maintenance workload of a particular plant, especially reference to manufacturing plant. Then third one, understanding principle or understand the principle and procedure of maintenance planning. And last one is understand the principle and procedure for maintenance schedulings. And what are the outcomes? The outcomes after this particular sessions, develop detailed maintenance plan based on equipment specifications and manufacturing recommendations. The second one is identify the critical factors, those factors which are basically influence equipments and analyze the impact of maintenance on production and operational cost. The last important outcomes of this particular session is knowledge and skill to proactively plan and execute maintenance activities, minimize equipment downtime, optimize resource utilizations, and ensuring overall operational reliabilities. So let's discuss the topics. So this was the introductions. Maintenance is a routines and recurring activities, keeping plants and machinery its normal operating conditions. So it is the duty of maintenance departments. They must keep all the machines in a such way that they must go for higher amount of productions, increase the efficiency of productions without any kind of disruptions. So if you understand this normal operating conditions, it can be deliver expected performance or service without causing any kind of loss of time of accounts or accidental damage or breakdowns. So that is why the maintenance department is responsible for conducting various amount of that is known as maintenance related activities so that any kind of damage or accidental should be easily avoided. So let's understand that maintenance is defined as all the actions taken during the operation stage of a machine to ensure that it continue to function as per the expected standard or even better. So if you observe this particular schematic representation of the fundamental concept of what is known as maintenance, planning and settling. So it will be start or initiated from the planning stage. That means you have to go for repeatable procedures. So many company has made their that is known as maintenance standard operating procedure manuals. Whenever being employees of that particular organization, whenever you involve, you must run through this particular standard operating procedure manuals. And here, the different standards of machines should be prescribed. So one person is involved, he must go on through each and every steps of maintenance procedures. The next is tools. So by the help of tools, you can fix various kind of that is known as breakdowns or various kind of that is known as machines. The next is for planning, you have to go for it is known as list of materials or list of spare parts should be required. The next is if required, you need special kind of tools and equipment. Those who have compressed the lead time of maintenance. The next is before implementing any kind of maintenance activities, you have to gone through the past documentation of or past history of that machines. So after planning, you have to focus upon that knowledge job scope. So in case of job scope, it is lead towards scheduling of maintenance activities. So the first important part we have that is known as production schedules. The next is craft person schedules. Then work order priorities. Then we have maintenance team or queue schedule should be done. And we have preventive maintenance or post preventive maintenance work to be done. So these are the key activities of your maintenance plannings as well as maintenance schedulings for a particular organization. Moving to next ones. The next one we have, if you go for that is known as maintenance plannings, involve determining the tasks. The next is arrangement or optimization of resources. The next is schedule needed to execute the maintenance activities. So while you go for maintenance control, especially focus upon monitoring of various kind of machines and equipment. So after that is known as monitoring, you have to go for that is the next step that is known as evaluating. If required, you must go for that is known as adjustment of machines, or if required, you must go for replacement of any kind of spare parts. So these actions should be done under the maintenance plannings. So if you go to the next important concept of planning process, that means the planning is the process by which elements to perform a task to determine in advance. So let's take an example of electric motors. What are the different maintenance activities are concerns? So here we conduct inspections, that is shortly known as I, then performance of the site work, that is denoted as P, then replacement or reconditioning, that is stand for I, and cleanings, which is shortly known as C. So as far as concerned with that is known as maintenance planning or in maintenance activities of a electric motor, so few amount of that is known as recommended maintenance interval should be given. So what are the maintenance interval we have? Half yearly, 1 year, or maybe 3 to 5 years. That is known as maintenance interval should be given. And what are the different activities are concerned? The first one is general constructions. That is I and P. That means you have to go for inspections and performance of this particular work. The next one we have low voltage connections, then starter and starter winding conditions, then rotor and rotor winding conditions, then slip ring assembles, control and protection. The next we have bearings, then last one proper cooling systems. So if you go for the fast interval, in case of half yearly interval, we have starting from IP to I. That means you have to go for conducting large amount of inspections. Similarly, the next year we must conduct the done this inspection of electric motors and performance site of this particular work. Similarly, if you go for that is known as interval of 3 to 5 years, you can conduct various amount of maintenance activities to increase the life of this particular electric motors. Moving to next important fundamental concept of scheduling. So maintenance scheduling deals with specific times because there is huge amount of production consumption should be halted only due to the proper way or proper place to provide any kind of breakdown maintenance. So, or you can simply pronounce as proactive maintenance should be done. In that cases, you have to focus upon times and phase a plan job together in order to perform the work and monitoring the work, control it, and reporting the job progress to the middle level of management. So these are the fundamental aspect of maintenance planning and maintenance scheduling. So in that cases, I just repeat a review of this entire introduction. That means you have to go for first determine the tasks, then identify the resources or existing resources, especially reference to main machine materials, then schedules needed to execute the maintenance activities. Then after you have to conduct various amount of maintenance activities, for example, monitoring, evaluating, or adjusting any kind of performance machine and tools. Moving to next one. The next one is primary objective of maintenance planning and scheduling. The first point we have that is known as minimize the downtime. So in case of ensuring the maintenance activities are carried out efficiently and effectively, minimize the production downtime. And it directly affect the operational activities, especially reference to productions. So whenever you take any kind of maintenance planning and scheduling, that means you have to minimize the downtime without the limitation. That means without limited amount of time, you have to perform various amount of activities. The next is optimize the resources. So in case of optimize resources, that means allocation of resources as per the requirement of maintenance or breakdowns. So in allocating resources such as labor, material, equipment in the most efficient manner to achieve cost-effective maintenance outcomes. So here not only discuss about the allocation of resources or optimization of resources, you have to optimize the cost of maintenance, which is a good sign for the production organizations. The next is whenever you perform maintenance planning and scheduling, in that cases, the safety is most important pillar of priorities. So implementing safety measures during the maintenance activity to safeguard the personal as well as the assets. So being a team leader, being a maintenance manager, it is your that is the responsibility basically involved to provide the safety to the personnel, those who are directly or indirectly involved in case of maintenance activities. Moving to next one, the next point we have extend asset lives. So in that cases, we have already discussed about this particular topic. Preventive maintenance should be done, which increase the life of various equipments, motors, and many more that is known as machines, which is directly involved in case of production. So regular prevent premature asset failures or leading to longer asset life cycles, and it also focus upon that is known as return or increase higher rate of that is known as return on investments. So it is very much advisable that whenever you go for maintenance planning and scheduling, you must focus upon few amount of maintenance strategies. For example, preventive maintenance, which is basically done in case of day-to-day basis, weekly basis, or maybe monthly basis to make that is known as asset failures and leading longer asset life cycles, especially refers to large amount and complex machines. The next one is improve predictabilities. So those who are directly involved in case of maintenance, planning and scheduling, that is their duties and responsibilities. They will focus through the predictive maintenance techniques, especially through the inspections or maybe routine inspections should be done by the middle level of management. Then organization can accurately forecast the maintenance needs. So as far as concerned with the forecast, they can conduct various amount of the known as time series analysis of various amount of machine and tools so that they can easily predict the need of maintenance to specific departments or maybe sub department or maybe machines to the component levels. So these basically provide the output in case of enhanced operational predictabilities to avoid many amount of errors, many breakdowns, especially reference to manufacturing organizations. Moving to next ones. So the next topic we have that is known as component of maintenance planning and scheduling. So the first important part, if you observe this particular image, the first one is identify the work. The next we have plan work, and plan work goes towards the schedule works. Then you have to conduct execution of work, and finally go for record keeping or record histories. And all the inputs are goes to in case of record history goes to analyze the performance. So in this way, the maintenance planning and scheduling procedure should be conducted inside the organizations. So let's understand the importance of various component which is help in case of maintenance planning and scheduling. The first one is work identification and prioritization. So in case of prioritizations, you have implemented the known as proactive maintenance schedules for various amount of system and subsystem. But the thing is that first you have to identify which maintenance tasks to be needed or that to be performed, and the priority them based upon the criticals. The next one is safety concern, and the next one is operational impact. So as far as concerned with this particular point, depending upon the situations, need of maintenance, and which is take higher side of priorities, that should be identified in the first levels. The next one is resource allocations. So under resource, we have skilled workers are there. Then highly automated machines and tools are basically used. So it is in this particular step we have to focus on in this particular component that assigning the necessary resources including skilled labors, equipments and tools and materials to execute the maintenance tasks effectively so that less amount of downtime should be considered in case of breakdown maintenance. The third component we have that is known as schedulings. So in case of schedulings, developing a well-structured maintenance schedules that optimize the asset availabilities while considering the production requirements. So it is not talking about the allocation of resources, but the thing is that you have to maintain a well structures or especially reference to concrete structure of your schedule so that you can easily optimize the availability of spare parts, availability of skilled workers, as well as we can decrease the downtime of your maintenance or maintenance planning and scheduling process. The fourth component we have that is known as documents. So the current, past, and for futures, documentation should be needed in case of maintenance planning and scheduling. So these documents, which basically includes the that is known as maintenance related data, work orders, different procedure for fixing the machines and tools, and the record to create the comprehensive historical record, which is being referred in case of future course of actions. The fifth component we have that is known as defining or sorry, that is known as performance measurements. So in case of performance measurements, the maintenance department is defining various amount of key performance indicators to assess the effective of maintenance planning and control process. So these are the major and important component of your that is known as maintenance planning and scheduling process. I just repeat. The first one is work identification and prioritizations, then resource allocations. The next we have schedulings. The next one is documentations, and the last one is performance measurements. So next topic we have that is known as maintenance strategies. So if you go to the fundamental concept of strategy, so strategy is a plan of action which is used in case of getting the organization goals, whether in case of maintenance, whether in case of production, whether in case of sales. So if you go to the mechanical, so the maintenance strategies is the foundational framework that guides the organization approach to maintaining the asset and equipments. So your strategy should be very that is known as clear in case of optimization of maintenance cost, decrease the downtime. The next is increase the life cycle of your equipments. And the next important part is it should be very much focused towards that is known as the maintaining the asset in every aspect. So in case of maintenance strategies, it involves making information decisions about when, the next is how, and to what extent the maintenance activity should be performed to achieve the optimal operational performance. Asset reliabilities. The next is achieve optimal cost effective. So let's take a small example of preventive maintenance, which is maintenance strategies, which is applied in case of computer numerical control machines. So it's a very complex machines. So many components are there or complex parts are there, and you have to perform various amount of the known as maintenance related activities. So in case of preventive maintenance, they provide the time interval in case of 3 month, 6 month, 9 month, and yearly or maybe 12 month. So let's understand what are the different component of CNC machines. So they have cooling and lubricating systems. They have number of oil filters are there. They have rotating choke is there, which is basically mounting the workpiece. Then they have turret heads, then red leggers, they have wheel bearings, they have fitting covers, they have hydraulic and pneumatics, then central lubrication system they have, emergency stop functions they have, and oil screen should be there. So what are the different that is known as maintenance activities are basically performed? So the first one is if you observe this particular tables for cooling lubrication systems, they will go for inspection or that is maybe check. The next is air filters, go for clean and change. Similarly for choke, check the condition of choke. Then turret head, and the performance is that is known as check. Similarly, they go for red lugger, the check, clean and grease. Then wheel bearing, check, clean and grease. Similarly, for fitting covers, they must perform checking and retightening. Similarly, for hydraulic, pneumatic, central lubrications, and emergency stop, and the last one is oil spills, the level should be properly checked. And these things should be implemented in every that is known as 3 month interval, starting from the 3 month to 12 month. So if you observe in case of 9 months, the oil filter simply replaced or changed. Similarly for red leggers, they will clean the red leggers and provide the greasing activities. Similarly for bearing or wheel bearings, they will go for a known as 1 year interval for greasings. And similarly for fitting covers, they retighten the covers. So these are the preventive maintenance to avoid large amount of breakdowns in this particular CNC machines. So moving to next one. So we have to understand the types of maintenance strategies. So we have a various amount of maintenance strategies applied inside the organizations, especially a reference to systems and subsystem, and as well as in case of component levels. So first you have to understand that why type of that is known as maintenance strategy is required in case of that particular department. For examples, if you go for air, that is known as providing the maintenance strategy in case of air filter change or oil filter change, or in case of that is known as electric motors, in case of pump, or in case of gear. So the first, if you go for the classification or types of maintenance strategy, the first one we have reactive maintenance, that is run to failures. The next one we have that is known as preventive maintenance. The next one we have predictive maintenance. The fourth one we have proactive maintenance. So we'll discuss one by one. So reactive maintenance, that is the strategies involved addressing maintenance issues only when lead to equipment failures. So if you find a gearbox is not properly run or not properly that is known as efficient, in that cases you have to provide the reactive maintenance so that within the limited amount of time you can fix the gearbox, and that is directly delivered to the production department for efficient run of that particular gearbox. Similarly, in case of preventive maintenance, if you observe this particular figures, we have five steps basically involved in case of preventive maintenance plan. So it is one of the famous that is known as maintenance strategies. So the first important part is you have to define the goal and priorities. So which machines, which component is given higher priorities. That is predefined by the middle level of management or specially reference to maintenance managers. The next is list asset and tasks. So the second step is that you have to go for the asset management, especially reference to allocation of resources, and depending upon the skill, you have to provide the tasks. For example, you have different level of skilled workers are there. So unskilled worker is not assigned to the fixing the machines; they are simply assigned for the cleaning works, or that is known as visual inspection works. The next important part is that is known as manage priority and resources. So as I told in the previous, you have to go for the listing of asset and taxes. After that, second step is over. You have to go for what is known as third step. So in that cases, you have to manage priorities and allocation of resources should be done. That means assign the main machine materials and spare parts to that needed machine so that they can perform well. Then, after performing this, manage the priorities or third step, you have to go for the fourth one. That means define the performance indicators, and if it is up to the levels, then review and improve the process. So this is one kind of that is known as preventive maintenance strategy, which is vastly used. But if you go to the preventive maintenance strategies, so it is a scheduled approach where maintenance tasks are performed at predetermined intervals. So the previous slide we have discussed about the CNC machines and how the CNC machines have given the time interval starting from the 3 months to 1 year. So within the interval, we have performed so many activities, especially reference to preventive maintenance. So these tasks are performed at predetermined intervals, regardless of asset conditions, and this strategy helps prevent unexpected failures. So if you implement this preventive maintenance, the percentage of that is known as failure is less as compared to the other strategies. For example, reactive maintenance, there is no limitation of times. So the next one is we have predictive maintenance. So it relies on the real-time data and condition monitoring to predict when maintenance is needed. So by detecting the early sign of deteriorations, the organization can schedule maintenance just in times and reducing the downtime and optimize the maintenance efforts. So the next we have that is known as proactive maintenance. So in case of proactive maintenance, goes beyond the addressing symptoms to identify and eliminate the root cause failures. It focuses on continuous improvements and reliability centered maintenance and failure mode and effect analysis to optimize the asset performance. So in case of continuous improvement, they are simply focus upon that is known as PDCA cycles. So P stand for plan, D for do, C for check, and A for act cycles. So whenever you focus upon PDCA cycles, in that cases, you can focus upon only that is known as continual improvement by a proactive maintenance. And similarly, if you find that is known as a machine is continuously failures, in that cases you have to conduct large amount of root cause failure analysis. So in case of root cause failure analysis, you can find out the various amount of symptoms which is lead towards larger amount of breakdown in the industry or plant. Moving to next one, the next one we have asset criticalities. So high criticality asset may require more proactive strategies to avoid operational disruptions. So depending upon the complexity of machines, or that is known as complex parts those machines have. So in that cases, you have to focus upon that is asset criticalities. So they can require or they can need large amount of proactive strategies to avoid various amount of breakdowns. The next one is the most important part that is known as operational environments. So whenever you go for perform the maintenance, that should be neat and clean before conducting any kind of maintenance work. So if you go for the operational environment, harsh or demanding the environment might necessitate more frequent maintenance. The next is cost considerations. So one of the most important objective of maintenance is optimize the maintenance expenses. So whenever we go for budget constraint, that also influence the choice between preventive and predictive strategies. The next one is we have data availabilities. So in case of productivity and proactive strategies, really heavily on accurate and real-time data are needed. So if you provide wrong data or in case of machine specification, that lead towards large amount of error in case of maintenance planning and scheduling. So these are the various amount of maintenance strategies. Moving to next one. The next one we have implementing a maintenance strategies. So what are the different steps to be followed by implementing the proper strategy inside the organizations? The first important part is data collections. So gathering relevant data about the asset. So if you collect the wrong data, that can directly provide various amount of maintenance errors. So gathering relevant data about the asset performance, the next one is conditions and the historical of maintenance. So data are basically used for that is known as future course of actions by implementing any kind of maintenance strategy inside the organizations. The next important part is analysis. So using data analysis techniques to make informed decision about the appropriate strategy for the each asset. So suppose your workshop consists of 10 to 20 number of machines. So in that cases, if you are not using or not analyze the data in the proper techniques, so the decision, whatever decision is there based upon the result, it is not appropriate. So that is why it is advisable whenever you go for that is known as implementation of maintenance strategies, real-time data are vastly used to get about appropriate strategy for each assets. The next third step we have that is known as planning stage. So developing the detailed plan for maintenance activities and resource allocations and schedulings. So planning should be basically for that is known as monitoring and evaluating and controlling the different activities of maintenance, which is one of the importance under the maintenance strategy, which is related to the various form of maintenance strategy. For example, proactive, for example, preventive, or for example, runtime that is known as maintenance strategies. The last one is that is known as executions. So carry out maintenance tasks as per the selected strategy. Suppose you are implementing preventive maintenance, that means you have to go for that is known as data collection priority basis, then go for schedulings, then go for executions. The next is delivering the known as tasks or hand over the tasks to the next department, and finally go for review and analysis. So these are the key activities which is involved in case of implementation of that is known as maintenance related strategy inside the organizations. Moving to next ones. So what are the benefits? So let's understand what are the benefits we are getting by implementing the maintenance strategy. The first one is increase the reliabilities and availability of various machines and equipments. The next one is reduce the downtime and production distortions. So by implementing various amount of maintenance strategy, so the most important objective of maintenance strategy is to reduce the downtime of maintenance and eliminate the various amount of error from the productions. If you implement the maintenance strategies, it improves the safety for personal as well as equipments. The next is cost saving through the optimization or optimized maintenance efforts, enhance operational efficiency and asset longevities. The next is despite the all advantages, there may be some challenges are there. That means balancing the short-term cost saving with long-term liabilities and acquiring and analyze the accurate data for predictive and proactive strategy, which is already we have discussed, and overlook the need for the continuous strategy evaluation and adjustment. So these are the key benefit as well as the challenges in case of implementation of that is known as maintenance strategies. So moving to next one. The next topic we have that is known as maintenance planning. So why maintenance planning is most important? Because it's a systematic process that involve the first one is identifying, the next is scheduling, the next we have organizing the maintenance activities to ensure the asset and the equipments operate efficiently, safely and reliably. So this is the common objective of maintenance planning. So I repeat, the first one is identify, scheduling, organizing to ensure about the asset and equipments, increase the operational activities of machine or efficiently operate. Then next one is provide higher level of safety and reliability to the machines. So whenever you go for maintenance planning, a well-structured maintenance planning process essential for minimize the downtime, optimize resource allocations, achieving cost-effective maintenance outcomes, and by implementing the maintenance planning, you have to focus upon various that is known as purpose of this maintenance planning. The first one is we have already discussed that is known as minimize the downtime, the resource optimization, then safety and asset longevity. So in case of implementing this maintenance plannings, if you observe in case of minimize the downtime, that means during the planned downtime and unplanned interruption to the operation can be reduced. The next is resource optimization. That means efficient allocation of labors, material, equipment lead to cost-effective maintenance. Similarly, if you go for safety, proper planning includes safety precautions and measures and ensure well-being of the personnel as well as the asset. And the last one is in case of asset longevities, you have to go for regular and well-planned maintenance, help extend the life of asset and minimize the return on the investment. So these are the fundamental concept of your maintenance plans. Let's discuss about the maintenance planning process. So we have around five number of steps are there. The first step that is known as work identification and prioritizations. So through the various means, that means you have to identify the work and which work is given priorities. In this particular steps, you have to go for that is known as routine inspections, condition monitoring, historical data analysis, and feedback from the operation teams. So if you observe this particular tables, the priority type is given. First one is emergencies, and the time frame of work should be start. The work should be start immediately. And type of work, the work has an immediate effect on the safety. The first important, so the next important part is environment, then quality of product, or will shut down the operations. This is known as emergencies. Similarly, if you go for the next one, that is known as urgent. That if you go to the time frame, work should be start. It means work should start within the 24 hours. And type of work is likely to have an impact on the safety, environment, quality, or will shut down the operations. Similarly, if you go for the third, that is known as priority type, we have routines, work schedule start. In case of time frame, work schedule start, and the type of work includes work that is likely to impact within 48-hour production within a week. The fourth priority type we have that is known as schedules. So in case of time frame, work schedule start, and here it include edge schedules, and the type of work include that is known as preventive maintenance and routine and all program work. Similarly, if you go to the last one, postponables, that the next one is time frame work should be start. And here what will happen, the works should start when resources are available at shutdown periods, and the type of work basically includes work that does not have an immediate impact on the safety, health, environment, quality, or maybe the production operations. So these are the given that is known as priorities are there, starting from the emergencies. The next one is urgent. The next one is routine. The next one we have schedules, and the next last one we have postponables. So these are the given priorities given. So if you observe in case of emergencies, so this is given a higher amount of priority after urgent. So in that cases, you can first focus upon the safety of individuals. Then the next is concern about the environment, and if required, to go further to shut down the entire operations. So I will just repeat in case of step number one, work identification or priority is basically focused upon that is known as routine inspections. The next one we have condition monitoring, and then must focus upon historical data analysis and feedback collected from the operation teams. The second step we have that is known as defining the scope and objectives. So, being the maintenance departments, each maintenance task should have clearly defined the scope. That means which include the specific work to be performed, necessary resources, and each work have some expected outcomes. So that's directly or indirectly define the scope and objective of your maintenance. So, for example, if you perform that is known as the maintenance work on a that is known as electric motor, in that cases the outcome should be that should be efficiently operate the electric motor, and that will given the outcomes to involve the motor in case of production process. The step number three that is known as resource allocations. It basically involves determining the manpower, then tools, equipments, and material required for each maintenance task. So resource allocation should be done by the maintenance managers. So under the organization structure of maintenance departments, they have number of foremen are there, number of technicians are there, welders are there, carpenters are there, or other technical skill or multi-skills people are basically involved to determine the various that is known as or they are simply assigned to the system level, subsystem level, or component levels to perform maintenance tasks. The first step we have that is known as estimating the job duration and complexities. So whenever you perform the maintenance tasks, in that cases, accurate estimation of task duration is essential. It does not mean that you have to perform for maintaining a motor or maintaining a gear for longer amount of years that directly affect the maintenance expenses. So that is why the task duration is essential for effective scheduling. And in some cases, for example, the machines consist of large amount of complex parts and complex specification is there. In that cases, you take large amount of time to provide the maintenance. So that is already written in this year. Complex tasks might require longer preparation times or specialized expertise should be needed, while routine tasks can be completed more quickly. So those who have the knowledge of, for example, if you perform the maintenance work for a computer numerical control machines. So in that case, a highly skilled of that is known as mechanics and foremen should be assigned so that within the limited amount of time they can fix the particular CNC machines. So if you go for normal machines that can be quickly fixed in case of providing the maintenance as compared to the complex machines. The next one is last steps we have that is known as developing maintenance work order. So maintenance work order are detailed documentations that outline the tasks, the resources, safety precautions, and scheduling for each maintenance activities. So it is mostly done by the middle level of management, especially reference to maintenance managers. They can go for outline or that is collection of various specification machine related data, task related data, resources like main machine material and spare parts. They also providing the guideline for the safety precautions and scheduling for each maintenance activities. So as I told that maintenance manager are basically responsible for developing maintenance work orders, and that is pre-approved from the top level of management. So these are the five number of maintenance planning steps. Moving to next one. The next one is this is the typical example of maintenance planning of a license. So if you understand this particular concept, you can easily go on through the fundamental of maintenance planning. So the first step is that is steps and procedures are there. Time allotted for the work is there. Then frequency of work should be given. And the next one is who will perform the work. So these are basically planned by the maintenance managers. That means different step and procedures of maintenance. Then time slot or time allotted to the work, and they have to go for frequency of work. Number of machines are there. That is why frequency of work should be observed. And the last one is who will perform the work. So this is these four number of inputs are basically included in case of task list. Similarly, in case of maintenance items, you have to reference objects are there, object list is there, activities type, and which kind of maintenance strategy you are implementing. These are the four number of input for the maintenance item. So in case of maintenance plan, the inputs we have task list and maintenance items. So after maintenance plan, they will go for schedulings, and the last one is confirmations. So this is a typical example for us industries who have performed various amount of maintenance planning. So it is applicable to small scale industries, medium scale industries, as well as large scale industries. Moving to next one. The next one is basic maintenance planning principles. So let's understand what are the principle. The first planning principle includes that is maintenance planners are organized into a separate departments to facilitate the specialization in case of planning technique as well as focusing on future works. So if it goes to a core industries or a integrated organizations, in that cases, for examples, the maintenance planning departments are separate entities. So for example, mechanical maintenance planning or planning departments, civil planning department, or maybe electrical planning department, they have facilitated various amount of specializations to planning techniques. And these are basically focused upon the future's work of maintenance to specialized departments. Point that is principle number two, planning department concentrate on future work in order to provide maintenance department at least 1 week or one work backlog that is planned and approved and ready to execute. So in that cases, the planning department basically concentrate to provide the details of the future work to the maintenance department so that they can easily focus upon plan, approve, and ready to execute the maintenance related activities or tasks. The third principle, the planning department maintain a simple, secure system based on equipment tag numbers, and the file system enable planner to utilize equipment data and informations learned on previous work to prepare and improve the work plan. Then fourth one we have planner use personal experience and file informations to develop the work plan to avoid anticipation work delay and quality and safety problems. So whenever you focus upon maintenance planning, you must aware of various amount of work delay anticipations and qualities as well as safety precautions or safety related problem. The last principle we have, the planning department determine the scope of work, request including clarification of originator intent where the necessity or necessary. The planner then plan the general strategy for the work. So these are the basic and fundamental maintenance principle which is applied in case of that is known as maintenance planning department. They are basically focused upon that is known as specialized planning techniques for various maintenance related department, whether it's mechanical maintenance, electrical maintenance, or maybe civil maintenance department. And they will provide large amount of safety precautions, reduce of the that is known as downtimes, then anticipation of work delays, and the last one is improve qualities of maintenance planning so that it should be easily fixed or easily eliminate any kind of breakdown inside the organization. Moving to next one, the next one is maintenance schedulings. So after maintenance planning that we have discussed that maintenance planning should go to schedulings and finally go for confirmations. So in case of maintenance schedulings, it is a critical aspect of effective maintenance management that basically involve the sequence maintenance tasks in a such a way that they can easily optimize the asset availabilities, minimize the operational disruptions, maximize resource utilizations, and how these are basically applied inside the organizations to achieve operational efficiencies, asset reliabilities, and cost effectiveness. The first important part is minimize the disruptions, which basically done by the schedulings maintenance during the planned downtimes or low demand period, or that is known as operational disruption can be minimized. So whenever it is basically applied, they reduce the that is known as downtimes when the demand is less. The second one we have optimized resource utilizations. So in case of optimized resource utilizations, you have to efficient scheduling ensures The main machines and materials are used effectively to reduce the cost. And the last one is balancing productions and maintenance needs. So schedule prevents conflict between production and maintenance requirements. So these are the key importance that is known as crucial role of maintenance schedulings. If you go for the reviews, the first important objective is to minimize the disruptions, optimize resource allocations or resource utilizations, and the last one is balance between your production and maintenance requirements. So the next topic we have that is known as basic maintenance principles. So let's understand what are the different or basic maintenance schedule is applied. The first one is job plans provide number of person required, lowest acquire craft skill levels, craft work hour per skill levels, and job duration information are necessary for advanced schedules. So who are the that is known as worker, skill workers? What is the level of skills? How much time is required for skill levels? And what is the duration of that particular task or job that should be needed in case of advance? The second principle is weekly and daily schedules must be adhered to as closely as possible to prevent undue interruption of schedules. So that is why the maintenance schedule should be depend upon weekly basis as well as daily basis schedules should be adhered closely to avoid any kind of known as maintenance scheduling. The third one is the scheduler. Those who are basically done the maintenance scheduling, they are simply pronounced as schedulers. The scheduler develop 1 week schedule for each crew based upon the craft hour available. Forecast shows highest skill level available, job priorities, and information from the job plans. The fourth one week schedule assigns work for every available work hours. The schedule allowed to go for emergencies, which is given highest amount of priorities, and higher priority and reactive job by scheduling a sufficient amount of work hour on easily interrupted tasks. The next one we have the crew supervisors develop the daily schedules 1 day in advance using current job progress and 1 week schedules and new high priorities reactive job is guide. And the last principle we have range time is primarily measures of workforce efficient of planning and scheduling effectiveness. Work that is planned before assignment reduce unnecessary delay during the job hours. So if you gone through the six number of basic maintenance scheduling principles, the first important part is you have to identify the skill levels. Suppose if you go for the skill levels, we have on skill level is there, semi skill is there, skill level is there, and highly skill levels of manpower is. So depending upon the skill, you have to assign the various tasks. And the next important part is you have to go for the duration of tasks. The next is you have to implement weekly schedules and daily schedules. So in that cases, you have to given the or assign the skill level availabilities, which job is given priorities, and that information should be decoded in case of your maintenance schedules. Similarly, the next one is that the 1 week schedule is basically assigned for every available work hours. And if you go for the different emergencies, is given highest amount of priority. Those who are priority basis, these are given next amount of or sufficient amount of times. And it is done by the that is known as the middle level of management, especially refers to supervisors who are basically focused upon daily schedules, 1 day or in advance for conducting various amount of job progress. And the last one it is you have to focus upon workforce efficiencies. So by providing a large amount of schedules, that is maintenance schedules on the basis of weekly or dailies, we can improve the planning and scheduling effectiveness, which is very much essential for the industries, especially reference to maintenance departments. Moving to next ones, let's understand the difference between maintenance planning principles and maintenance scheduling principles. So we have protect the planners. So here job plans are needed for schedulings. Point number two, focus on future works. In case of maintenance schedule principle, schedule and job priority are important, especially reference to emergency job. Then point number three, component level files are required. Here, schedule based on the highest skill is available. Then fourth point, use planner judgment for the time estimate. In case of maintenance schedule principle, schedule for every available work hours, especially refers to proactive and preventive. Then point number five, recognize the skill of technicals or technicians. Here, in case of maintenance scheduling principles, daily work is handled by the crew leaders. And the last point, in case of maintenance principles or maintenance planning principle, measure the performance with the war samplings, and here measure the performance by schedule compliance. So these are the common difference between maintenance planning principle and maintenance scheduling principles. Moving to next one, types of maintenance schedules. So if you go on for the classification of maintenance schedules, we have fixed schedules, we have rolling schedules, and we have dynamic schedules. So in case of fixed schedules, it involves performing the maintenance tasks on a predefined calendar-based schedules, and it is suitable for routine and time-based tasks like filter change inspections. So fixed schedules are basically done for various amount of that is known as pneumatics. The next is hydraulics, gearbox, machines, and they can perform various amount of routines and time-based tasks. For example, it is already given filter change, oil top off, greasings, tightening the covers, tightening the bearing blocks. So these are the routine and time-based tasks which is fixed by the maintenance departments. Similarly, if it goes for rolling schedules, the rolling schedule involve continuous adjusting the maintenance schedule based on the real-time conditions. So if you observe there is an emergency, in that cases you avoid the fixed schedules and go for rolling schedules. So in case of rolling schedule, it is given higher amount of priorities depending upon the real-time conditions. So here what will happen, the operational demand or real-time condition is most important parameter for rolling schedules. So it is useful for adaptive maintenance approach like predictive and condition-based strategies. So in case of predictive, you have given a certain amount of that is known as time interval. But the thing is that in case of condition-based strategies, depending upon the condition of machine, for example, higher amount of heat is generated, higher amount of noise is created by the machines, higher amount of that is known as vibration is created. In that cases, you have to go for rolling schedules. The next one we have that is known as dynamic schedules. So in case of dynamic schedules, it adjusts the maintenance based upon real-time data, system conditions, and operational priorities. So this approach is often used in case of complex and high-tech industries where asset interact dynamically. So especially refers to large-scale industries, those who contain various amount of flexible machines, highly automated machines. So in case of highly automated machines which contain real-time data, in that cases, you can easily implement dynamic schedules for that is known as condition monitorings and as well as operational priorities. Most of the companies are, especially reference to Industry 4.0 or Industry 5.0, they are vastly applied that is known as dynamic schedules, especially reference to those industries who contain highly automated machines. So, in case of highly automated machines, large amount of complex spare parts as well as direct that is known as interaction of machines are there. So they can perform various amount of dynamic schedule to perform maintenance activities or maintenance tasks. So these are the classification of your maintenance schedules. The next one is steps of maintenance schedules. So first step we have work order reviews. Then second we have resource availabilities. The third we have task sequencings. The fourth we have downtime coordinations. The fifth we have that is known as schedule creations. And the last one is that is known as strong communications or effective communications. So let's understand the steps by using any that is known as industrial examples. The scheduling process start with the review maintenance work orders, understanding their scope and assessing the resource required. So whenever you go for maintenance schedules, it is directly drawn the various amount of device maintenance work order and understanding the scope. So for example, you are going to fix a machines or fix a gear. In that cases, the scope is that is known as within the limited amount of time we have to provide the outcome that the machine will be directly involved in case of production activities. And for this work order review, you have to go for large amount of assessment of resources requirement. That means requirement of skill levels, requirement of spare parts, then requirement of materials and tools. The next one is availability of resources or resources availabilities. So identify the availability of labors, equipments, materials, tools needed for each task. So it is the duty of maintenance managers. They can easily optimize the level of men, machine, and material so that they can easily perform any kind of task and whenever it is needed. The next one is task sequencing. So in that cases, you have to maintain a optimal sequence of your maintenance tasks. That means you're starting from the task dependencies, the availabilities, and production needed. So in this point, determine the optimal sequence in which task should be performed, and the sequencing considers factors such as task dependencies. That means if you perform the sequence of machines starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that means if one machine, the first machine is have some breakdown, in that cases it is directly or indirectly affect your the sequence of your production. That means you have to go for provide the maintenance work to the first machine so that there is no that means a deficiency will be occur from the first to last so that production flow should be smooth from one end to other end. The next fourth one we have that is known as downtime coordinations. So for tasks that require asset downtime, coordinate with production to minimize the impact upon operations. So depending upon the complexity of machines, the downtime should be coordinated. For example, fixing of complex machines, large amount of downtime should be required. Fixing a simple motors, less amount of time should be required. Moving to next steps, we have that is known as schedule creations. So generate a comprehensive maintenance schedule that outline the timing. The next one is sequence. The third one is resources and the estimated duration of each task. And the last one is strong communication. So effective communication starting from the middle to the functional level and functional level to the work levels. In that cases, if you not clearly communicate regarding the maintenance, you can face large amount of problems. So effective communication with technicians, the next is operation team or other stakeholders. Ensure everyone is aware of the schedules to avoid that is known as any kind of accident or any kind of their rules. So these are the common steps which is basically included in case of maintenance. I just repeat that means work order reviews, resource availabilities, then task sequence, then downtime coordinations, then schedule creations, and the last one is communications. Moving to next one. The next one we have the time horizon of maintenance schedules. So we have three number of time horizon is given. The first one is long range and master schedules. The next is weekly maintenance schedules, and the last one we have daily maintenance schedules. So this is so if you goes for the long range, this is the highest level of maintenance schedules, having a close linkage with the strategy level maintenance plan, and it is often cover a period up to 2 years. So from this master schedules, many company prefer that is known as weekly maintenance schedule as well as daily maintenance schedules. So this is the core heart of any that is known as maintenance schedules. So if you goes for the weekly maintenance schedules, this schedule is generated from the long range schedules and takes into account current operation schedules and economic considerations. So if you go for long range, that is known as schedules or maintenance schedules, large amount of capital should be invested. But if you go for drawing the weekly maintenance from the master schedules, so weekly schedules should allow about 10% to 15% of workforce to be available for emergency works. So they have a reserve of 10 to 50% of workforce for the schedule maintenance. Similarly, if you go for the last one that is known as daily maintenance schedules, so these schedules encompass the work or maintenance tasks completed on daily basis. For example, cleaning of machines, for example, greasing of machines, top of the oil in case of various gearboxes, top of the oil in case of various pneumatics systems. So they are basically performed on the daily basis. So it is a part of that is known as maintenance schedule. You have to neat and clean the machines so that you can avoid any kind of breakdowns. So daily schedule is generated from the weekly schedule and it is usually prepared the day before. So it is done by the that is known as maintenance managers to provide daily maintenance schedule to the that is known as maintenance technicians and various that is known as machine operators so that they can easily perform the daily maintenance schedules. So this schedule is frequently interrupted with the performance of emergency maintenance. So by providing the daily maintenance, you can easily avoid large amount of that is known as breakdown or elimination of large amount of downtimes. So in these cases, the origin of time schedules is already we have discussed. That means long range or master schedules, weekly maintenance schedules, and the last one we have daily maintenance schedule. Moving to next ones, maintenance work orders. Thank you for this particular session.